Let's jump right into this explainer. We're diving into one of the most dramatic horticultural transformations in English history. We are talking about a wild story that spans over 250 years, featuring obsessive Victorian diplomats, completely unannounced royal visitors, absolutely devastating natural disasters, and a pretty incredible modern resurrection. Now, the big mystery we're unraveling today is how on earth a 30-acre exotic paradise exists right on Dorset's Jurassic coast. I mean, when you think of the English coastline, you're probably picturing biting winds and sideways rain, definitely not towering palm trees and giant exotic ferns. Yet Abbotsbury's there, completely defying the geographical odds. The secret here is a literal freak of geography, because it's nestled in this specific wooded valley just under a mile from the sea, behind Chesil Beach. The landscape acts as a giant natural shield. This gives the gardens a unique microclimate, with milder winters and cooler summers. It's this exact protected pocket of air that lets rare, tender plants thrive entirely outdoors, without ever needing a greenhouse. Part 1. A coastal kitchen garden. To see how this all started, we have to rewind to 1765. The first Countess of Ilchester, Elizabeth, wanted to escape the smog of London, so she built a fashionable seaside retreat called Strangways Castle. At first, she just designed a simple walled kitchen garden to support the house. It was a pretty modest start, and nature was already proving to be a tough neighbor. In 1824, a massive storm totally flooded the area with sea and shingle. But these early years proved just how pioneering the women of the estate were. Countess Elizabeth and her daughter, Lady Susan, started experimenting. They threw up high walls and built stone summer houses in the corners to block out the coastal spray. And right inside those walls, they built what historians argue is the very first purpose-built rockery in all of Britain. They were laying the groundwork for something huge. Part 2. Victorian Vision and Royal Visits. As we roll into the 19th century, the garden's prestige just explodes under the 3rd and 4th Earls of Ilchester. They began massively expanding the footprint of the estate. In 1811, the 3rd Earl planted Staffordale Wood to act as an organic fortress against the wind, turning this modest plot into a vibrant, sprawling estate fit for royalty. Then we get William, the 4th Earl, who took over in 1858. William was a global diplomat and an absolute plant fanatic. Seriously, after looking at a seed catalog from the Crimea, he wrote that the very lists make one's mouth water. He was so obsessed with rare botany that they literally named a plant genus, Strangways, right after him. William built this powerhouse of a plant exchange network. He was importing massive boxes of seeds from Mexico and the Crimea and trading with grand estates across the UK. He even swapped cuttings with Laycock Abbey, which happened to be the home of his nephew Henry Fox Talbot, the guy who invented photography. Okay, you've got to love this detail. William once got a highly flustered letter from his gardener asking what on earth to do about amorous polygamy happening in the garden. It sounds like some huge Victorian scandal, right? No. The poor guy had just completely mangled the Latin name for a rare Chilean pepper tree, Amorous polygama. Eventually, word of this botanical wonderland reaches the top of British society. Princess Charlotte swung by in 1814 and called it sublime. And in 1846, Queen Victoria and Prince Albert literally dropped in, unannounced, from their royal yacht. The Earl wasn't even home, so the head gardener had to give them an impromptu tour on the spot. Part 3. The Mediterranean Plant Paradise. Now let's fast forward to the late 1890s, which is when the garden really transitions into that exotic, Mediterranean-style jungle we know today. The 5th Earl hired Joseph Benbow, a Kew-trained gardener who had worked on the Italian Riviera. Benbow took one look at Abbotsbury's microclimate and immediately started planting a sprawling, subtropical Edwardian paradise. Benbow's ambition was just off the charts. Under his watch, the garden's printed catalog absolutely ballooned. By 1912, he had cultivated a staggering 5,000 different species and varieties of plants, importing them from literally every continent on Earth. He didn't just plant flowers. He basically engineered a totally new landscape. He built dams to make lily ponds, planted 30 varieties of eucalyptus, and set up a massive winter garden where absolutely no flower pots were allowed. Every single tender climber had to go directly into the ground. But nature always gets the last word. Benbow had imported over 70 beautiful varieties of Mediterranean ice plants that ran wild over the stones. It was a literal dream. until a freak -6-degree freeze hit in 1906 and completely wiped out the entire collection in one shot. Part 4. The Fall: Fire, Storms, and Neglect. Sadly, this golden age comes to a screeching halt. In 1913, a massive fire breaks out and burns the family's beloved Strangways castle down to a shell. And the ultimate tragedy for garden historians? The fire incinerated decades of meticulous botanical archives. The written memory of all those incredible plant exchanges was just gone. From there, it's a rapid, brutal domino effect. They quickly rebuilt the castle, but mistakenly used mortar mixed with beach sand. It was so structurally unsound it had to be demolished in 1936. Then, during World War II, U.S. troops occupied the site and leveled the terraces. The final blow came in 1990 when hurricane-force gales ripped through the valley, snapping century-old specimen trees like twigs. Part 5. A spectacular modern renaissance. But hey, I promised you this explainer had a triumphant ending. Right after that devastating 1990 storm, a new curator named Stephen Griffith arrived. Staring at fallen trees and absolute destruction, he launched an incredibly ambitious 10-year master plan. The mission wasn't just to clean up. It was to resurrect the jungle, restore the ponds, and bring the gardens all the way back from the brink. Talk about resilience. The restoration was a massive success, culminating in 2012 when they won Garden of the Year, the first time a subtropical garden had ever won that award. Today, it's a stunning 30-acre sanctuary loaded with 6,000 species, red Japanese bridges, giant spiky gunneras, and some really cool contemporary sculptures by Brendan Merlis. Now you can easily go there and get totally lost in these world-famous camellia groves. Walking past the magnolias and brushing up against towering exotic ferns, it's so easy to completely forget that you're standing on the coast of England. They've even added a thrilling 36-meter rope bridge right over the canopy, giving you a completely different perspective of the plants below. So, knowing this wild history of fires, hurricane winds, and obsessive Victorian botany, what unique detail are you going to look for when you finally step into this reborn jungle for yourself?